Hello again, and welcome to the St. Louis Blues Hockey Legends Podcast. Tom Calhoun here to shine a light on the stories of those instrumental in Blues history. On this episode, we visit with 1990s fan favorite Bob Bassen. Sarah Honda O'Fallon, Illinois is a presenting sponsor of the Blues Legends podcast. Get 618, that's 618 Sarah Bucks to use toward your trade-in, extended warranty, or tire and wheel coverage. Get your coupon at sarahhondaofallon.com. A participating sponsor, the Gateway Grizzlies. Family-friendly baseball fun all summer. Visit gatewaygrizzlies.com for tickets and details on upcoming promotional nights. Bob Bassen was not a top scorer or flashy superstar, but his scrappy, put-on-your-work boots and go-after-it style endeared him to Blues fans. In fact, many will tell you that Bobby was their favorite player. A left-shooting center, he was a spark plug on what was known as the Green Beret line of the time, playing with Dave Lowry and Rich Sutter. Another Western Canada guy, he played for 5 other NHL teams before finishing his career with the Blues in 1999. Bob is the current director of alumni and new business for the Dallas Stars and lives in the Dallas Metroplex. Lots of memories and stories ahead as we visit with Blues legend Bob Bassen, right after these words from Sarah Honda O'Fallon.
When it's time to find your next car, what's changed in your life? What's driving you to start the process? What are you really looking for? These are the questions we're asking at Sarah Honda. We believe in real communication, real problem solving, and trustworthy long-term relationships with our customers. We're part of your community, and we want you to be part of ours. At Sarah Honda, the experience drives everything. You've got a lot going on in life, and you depend on your car to get you to places you need to be. So when it's time for maintenance or repair, we know you need it done fast and done right. Convenience and quality customer service with team members you can trust. That's what you're looking for. We'll get you safely back on the road and back to your busy life. At Sarah Honda, the experience drives everything.
And we're thrilled to have Bob Bassen on our Legends podcast this time around. Of course, many of you asked us to get Bob on the Legends podcast because of him being a fan favorite back in the days when he played with the blue note on his chest. And Bob, welcome aboard. Good to see you again.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to be on your podcast. It was I work for the Dallas Stars now, but I cheer for the Dallas Stars, but my second favorite team is the St. Louis Blues. Just had fond memories of St. Louis, just great days playing. Some of my best teams I played on and individually were some of my best years, and just loved the city, loved the fans, and always happy to talk to St. Louis people for sure.
Well, you were one of those heart and soul guys, and we'll get into that a little bit later on. But I want to set the stage, and as I usually do on this podcast, by getting a little bit of your personal background out there. And for the younger fans who may not know, Bob was born in Calgary and grew up there. I assume, Bob, you had a dad who was an NHL goaltender, and I guess that's kind of how you got the hockey bug.
Yeah, that's right. I grew up in Calgary. We had a little rink in our backyard. My dad played for the Chicago Blackhawks. He played the very first game for the Pittsburgh Penguins when they expanded. And so we had a little rink in our backyard. We had my dad's equipment, original 6 equipment, and one of us would put his equipment on, and then we'd shoot pucks at them. And my mom and dad were awesome. They supported. There was 5 kids. I have 4 siblings, and they supported us whatever we wanted to do. But I wanted to be a hockey player, and I was the second. I was number 4 in the family. So I had 2 older brothers, an older sister, and a younger brother. But they made me tough. Like older brothers, they have a way of making you tough, right? You have to fight for everything you got. So yeah, yeah, I had a great family.
Sounds like a pretty good place to be raised. You know, I've already had several guests on this podcast who are native Albertans, Calgary, Edmonton area. You know, also some Saskatoon guys. A lot of Western Canada guys came through the Blues back in those days, and you were one of those.
Yes, we I think we consider ourselves pretty tough out west. We played I played in Medicine Hat for the Tigers, and I played against Kelly Chase. He was a Saskatoon Blade, and like we played against Prince Albert, and we played against Dave Manson there. And if you weren't tough, you probably went home. We grew up some of those small rinks. Some nights you just had to survive. You cared about the score, but I think you cared more about just surviving the night in some of those small rinks in the Western Hockey League. And yeah, but um, it produced a lot of hard-nosed hockey players, and the Blues had a lot of Western Hockey League players on their team for sure.
Yeah, I just had Tony Twist on the podcast as well, and he comes from way out west in BC, and he played for Saskatoon as well. So a lot of hard-nosed players came out of those stretches of real estate up there. Let's talk about your current family situation. I understand you're native, or you're living rather, in Frisco, and you have your wife and your children there, right?
Yeah, Tom, my wife and I, my wife is from just west of Fort Worth, Texas, and we have four kids. Yeah, our youngest, so we have two graduated. Our daughter is going to nursing school, and then we have our youngest who plays up in Fargo in the USHL. He's played 3 years now, and he's going to go to college. Um, yeah, I feel like I'm Canadian, but I'm a Texan too. So um, Texas is a big place, and they love their state. So we feel at home here. I work for the Dallas Stars. I'm in charge of all the alumni. I do camps and clinics for the summer. I do anything they ask, and we feel like we have a really good team now. We're we're in the playoffs, and we feel like we have a good chance, but a lot of things have to happen for you to win in the playoffs. So we're right at the beginning of the playoffs.
Yeah, well, a lot of the
Yeah.
Western Conference teams have a pretty bright future. It's going to be interesting to see how it all develops next
It,
season.
it's tough to get out of the Western Conference right now for sure.
Yeah, so Dad, I guess, was your hockey influencer. When did you figure out, hey, I might be pretty good at this, and I might actually make a living at it?
Man, that's a good question, Tom, because I think I played junior. I was undrafted. I had people telling me that I was going to get drafted after my second year. I never got drafted. So I think it's not even like even when you play your first NHL game, like because even when you play your first NHL game, you're fighting to get in the lineup for the second game of your career. So I don't really think maybe after my first or second year with the New York Islanders did I think, man, I might be able to stay in this league and make a career out of it because I think for most of us, you just fight and claw to be in the lineup the next game. And so I remember when I went from so for about half my career, I had a two-way contract where they paid you certain salary to play in the NHL and a different salary to play in the minors. And I remember when I got my one-way contract, it was with the St. Louis Blues, and I thought I've got established, and I've got some security. But up until then, you always wonder, and I think there's some good to that too, that you can never take a night off, and playing, and I think there's some good, but it sure felt good when I got on my first one-way contract. I'll tell you that.
I bet. Yeah, because after
Yeah.
you played what, 3 years with the Islanders, then went to the Blackhawks for a couple of years, and then you went back to the IHL with Chicago before you came to St. Louis, right?
Yeah, it wasn't the best time in my career. We I had just played with the Hawks, and then Daryl Sutter was coaching in Indianapolis, and they sent me down there the next year, and I was not a happy camper. And then it ended up Daryl was the best thing for me. He was the coach. We won the championship there, and then I was picked up by the Blues in the waiver draft after that.
Right.
I'm pretty sure Daryl and Brian talked after that, and Brian picked me up. The Blues picked me up, and then my career it took off again. But for about half a year, I wasn't too happy in Indianapolis. Uh,
I
but it's
bet.
funny how things turn out. Like I played or was coached by every setter except their oldest brother who wasn't in the NHL. So I was very fortunate to be around the setters.
And you told me before we started recording that Brian Sutter was just a really good part of your career and maybe your favorite coach, right?
Yeah, Tom, people ask me all the time, who was your favorite team, favorite coach? And uh, Brian was without question, my favorite coach. I was a hard-nosed player, and if you played hard for him and you worked hard, I was telling you, um, if you walked by Brian the day after a game and he punched you in the shoulder as hard as he could, you had a good game. If you didn't get a punch, then you got to do something different. You had to have a better game. So if you had bruised shoulders, you were having a great year.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you got a few bruises along the way. You didn't mind mixing it up and you weren't a big guy by any means compared to some others, but you stuck your nose in when you had to. And what was your mindset in those days? Just everything for the team, that sort of thing. There's quite a few players that obviously with the Blues over time have kind of had that. What the symbol on the chest is more important than the name on the back.
Yeah. I think it's twofold, Tom. It's I think sometimes you fight for survival because it was such a tough league back then. So, you were always getting challenged. And then a lot of times you fought for your teammates, you stuck together. Um, I think it was a combination of both. I don't think unless you were, a Brad Hall caliber player, you had to fight and just to stay in the league and to also go back in your dressing room. If you didn't stick up for your teammates, that's a pretty harsh environment in that dressing room if you weren't a good team player. So you learn at an early age in junior that you stick together, and it's a good quality in life too, to have your friends back. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Somebody taking liberties, you got to go take care of business, right?
Yeah.
It's always about affordable family fun at Grizzlies games. Tickets, concessions, and everything else at Arsenal BG Ballpark in Sauget is aimed at giving fans and families a memorable professional baseball experience that won't break the bank. You won't want to miss the super shows, giveaway games, and Friday night fireworks. The 3rd and 4th of July games with gigantic fireworks shows and the greatest night in baseball. Always tons of fun on the night before Labor Day. Visit GatewayGrizzlies.com for upcoming promotional nights and ticket information, and I'll see you at the ballpark. So, do you have a big thrill that you tend to remember frequently from your career? What was the biggest thrill you can think of?
Man, the playoffs, even like as a fan now, like we just started watching the playoffs. Overtime in the playoffs is um as a fan, it's unbelievable. I scored a few. I didn't score an overtime goal, but I scored some playoff goals. And I remember one goal. I was with the Dallas Stars, and I scored, and I skated full blast into the glass and smashed myself up against the glass. And I think I almost knocked myself up. And I remember Kerry Fraser was the referee, and he was looking at me like I was crazy. But you just don't know what you're going to do when you score in the playoffs. And um, yeah, I think between that and the and your teammates, I mean, I have such close friends now with some of my teammates. I think that the combination of that is, I think those are the best memories.
Now, who were some of your buddies back in the day?
Well, I Richie and Ronnie Sutter are some of my best friends. Chaser is a really good friend of mine. Mike Eagles, I played in Chicago, is a really good friend. Joe Newendike is a good friend. Eddie Belfour. You know, you're friends with everybody on a team, but obviously, just like in life, you have closer friends. And um, Joe Newendike, he's coming. I'm going to see him tonight. I spent time with him at the Stars game the other night. It's fun when you get older and you laugh about the things you did as players, and then you can talk about watching the current games together. It's pretty neat fraternity, that's for sure.
You mentioned Chaser. Of course, we're all pulling for him right now in his battle with leukemia, but uh, you mentioned also that he helped to kind of get the alumni group off the ground there down in Dallas.
Yeah, our fraternity is, I mean, I don't know what the other sports are like, and hopefully they're the same as ours, but ours is really unselfish. Like we in our division when I was with the Blues, we fought against the Blackhawks and bled against the Red Wings, and now we for example, I was telling you this story when we started our Stars group, our alumni. We play an annual charity game after a Stars afternoon game, and we invited the Blues down, their alumni, to come play in our first game. And they graciously came down, and then we offered to pay for all their expenses. And Chaser, they said, "You guys are just starting. We'll come down. We'll pay for everything." And they were so gracious. And that, I mean, that's the kind of people that we played against, played with. And the Blues are they're really the gold standard for their alumni. They, as you know, they do great things in St. Louis and also in Dallas. They helped us out. So our alumni is now flourishing, and yeah, we love to get together with. So in our annual charity game, we play with and against Blackhawks and Star or the Red Wings and the teams we bled against, and now we still have pride, but we have fun out there, and we work together, and it's really nice.
Yeah, you bring up memories. I was able to work the puck cancer event that Chaser put on back in March, and Chris Chelios and a bunch of Blackhawks alumni came down for that, and it's kind of funny to see all these guys who are battling one another back in the day out there, hugging one another and love you, buddy, and all that kind of stuff that is totally genuine now as they try to promote the sport and also help out charity. It's great stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we know we're much like a big team now. I mean, we have our chapters, but yeah, we do a lot of stuff together, and the NHL alumni is doing great things as well. So yeah.
So
Uh,
I've got a question relating to the big uh, scrum on November, oh no, January of 1993 when Shovelday and Cujo met at center ice in that famous battle between the Blues and the Red Wings. Uh, Bob Probert got put in the penalty box, first one, and I had the misfortune of trying to keep him in the penalty box, and he didn't like that too much. And
that's a hard guy to keep in the penalty box.
yeah, it's a longer story than that, but that's the abridged version. Where were you when that was going on?
My gosh, I think I was on the ice. Was this when we had a full line brawl, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
when Joseph and Chevelday came out of the goal to fight at center ice.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. If it's the same fight, I played with Dave Lowry and Richie Sunner. We were called the Green Beret line.
Yeah, and I know Lowry
And
was on the ice. Yeah.
yeah, and so Probert had Dave Lowry, so I went over to grab Probert and help Pie. We called him Pie. And then I don't know what happened after that. Somehow Dave Lowry got out of that, and I was standing there with Probert. So I think that was the same time, but it's always fun to see the goalies. It happened once in a while, and I just remember it was a good fight. Yeah, I remember Cujo just like we never we never knew he was that tough, and he just went off on yeah, he was
Yeah,
good. It was a good fight.
Chaser likes to tell his version of it and says, Chevelday was Western Canada guy, and here's Cujo, a college hockey goalie, and Cujo closed up Chevy's eye in that fight, and never let Chevelday hear the end of
Right.
it.
Yeah, Chaser would have a story, that's for sure.
Yeah, he does. All right. Well, I asked this, Bob, of all. Oh, let me, before I do that, what was your nickname when you played? Everybody's got a hockey nickname, but you've got, was it Basser or something like that?
So this was only in St. Louis. I think everybody called me Bass pretty much everywhere else. They called me Scud in St. Louis, the Scud missile.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, as you know, I like most guys, we hit a lot, but that was my game. So they called me Scud Missile, running around targeting guys. So
Okay.
yeah,
Bass makes sense because
yeah,
you shorten it up because you got the Bassen on the end of it there. That I got that now. All
yeah.
right. So that answers my big burning question about Bob Basson. So I asked this of all of our legends on the podcast. What would you like people to remember about you? What is the Bob Basson legacy as far as you're concerned?
As a hockey player,
As anything you would like to be remembered by?
yeah, I think for myself, I'd like to be remembered as someone that I think came to play every night and played for his teammates, played for his jersey. But then off the ice, like I never considered myself as above anybody else. I always thought, like we played the game on the ice, we're hockey players, and then off the ice, we're just like everybody else. So I remember I'd like to be remembered as that. I never thought I was a superstar because I played hockey, or even though I loved the game and I loved playing for the Blues in different teams. But yeah, I think that would be it.
Most of the guys I interview on this, because they're just good people in hockey, have a
Mhm.
similar thought. Well, Bob, thanks so much for coming on this. We do appreciate it. I know some of the fans that you had over the years here in St. Louis will be thrilled to hear from you and see you again on this podcast. Any parting shots before you leave? What would you like to say to the Blues Nation?
Well, I didn't really talk about the fans that much. It was like a privilege and so fun to play at the old arena in front of our fans. Yeah, it's I mean, I never played in every city, thank goodness, in the league, but the Blues fans were some of the best fans in the league, and it was sure fun playing in front of them.
Thanks again, Bob. Take care of yourself.
Okay, Tom, thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for being with me for another episode of the St. Louis Blues Hockey Legends Podcast. We'll have another legend coming up soon, so stay tuned to our social media for news on who that legend might be. Visit PAGuyTom.com or BluesHockeyLegends.com and sign up for our Legends email notifications. The Legends podcast is also available on the Scoops Sports Network at scoopswithdannymac.com. Video of the podcast is published the Monday after the Friday release of the audio. As always, please like and share on Facebook, X, and Instagram, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It all keeps the Legends podcast alive and well. Tom Calhoun here saying thanks for being a fan, and let's go Blues!